look at the steps here of writing this narrative essay. The first thing you want to do, choose a story. Think of a good story that's happened to you, or maybe it could be something that happened to someone else that you know the details well. You want to make sure you know all the details well to tell the story. So it could be you or someone else, and think of a good lesson that you could learn from that story. So think of a story, and then write a summary sentence that has the lesson learned. If I were going to do this story, I would probably tell about my friend. I might have told some of you the story before, but I had a friend in college whose name was Kevin. When Kevin was growing up in the state of Nevada, it was very, very hot, of course, there during the summer. Well, Kevin had one of these electronic game type things that the batteries ran out on it. So he decided, you know what, I need to get more batteries. And the place where he knew the batteries were located was the trunk of his mother's car. So he decided that he was going to go to the trunk of his mother's car, get the batteries out. Well, their driveway was sort of on a hill, and so the car was sort of tilted like this, and so the batteries had rolled up to the front, towards the front of the car. They weren't right there in the back of the trunk by the bumper. They had rolled up to the front of the car. Well, Kevin was only about 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. He was a smaller individual, so he could not reach the batteries just by standing where he was. So he got this great idea. I think I'll climb in the trunk of this car and try to find out if I can get the batteries that way. So Kevin, not the brightest crayon in the box, gets in the trunk, crawls in the trunk of the car to get these batteries out. As he's crawling in the trunk, the weight shifts and the trunk lid closes, and he's locked inside the trunk. Now today, because of people like Kevin, they have rules and laws in place that make car manufacturers make it inside release. So if you happen to get locked in the trunk, you could unlock yourself from inside the trunk. But back then, when this story happened, they didn't have that. So Kevin is stuck in the trunk of his car in the blistering 100 whatever degree heat in Nevada in the summertime, and he starts pounding on the roof of the door. Let me out, let me out. Well, his mother had a good mother's intuition, and his mother decided, you know what? I have not heard from Kevin in a while. I think that's bad news. Maybe some mothers like that they haven't heard you in a while, they know you're up to no good. So she goes looking for him, can't find him anywhere, calling his name. You know, he's starting to run out of energy a little. She goes over next door to the friend's house. He's not there. So she goes back to the trunk of her car, sort of leans against the trunk of her car and thinks, where could Kevin be? Well, right then she hears this faint little tap, tap, tap is about all poor Kevin has left. And so she thinks, no, he couldn't. Well, maybe he could. So she goes and she opens the trunk of the car, and there's Kevin sort of sprawled out, you know, sort of like this, you know. His face is beat red, you know. He said he was seeing stars. He said he was very close to losing consciousness. He probably was very close to death. And so she quickly, you know, Kevin, you know, grabs him out, carries him inside, throws him on the living room floor. Well, not literally, but yeah, puts him on the living room floor, pours water on him, you know, gets the air conditioning going, and she is able to revive him and bring him back to life. So if I were going to tell that story, we want a good universal lesson. Try not to make the lesson just specific to one story. So don't say, don't jump in the trunk of your car. That's not a good universal lesson. What would be a better universal lesson from that story? Anyone think of anything? A good lesson you could apply to any circumstance? Is that a hand, Caleb?
Not really.
All right. Anyone think of a good lesson we could learn from that story? Think about it. Jameer, yes, go ahead.
Ask for help.
Ask for help, possibly, or think before you act. Think before you act applies to any story. And of course, he didn't think very well about what could happen if you jumped into the trunk of a car. So think of a good universal lesson, such as be patient, think before you act, things such as that. And then you want to write a list.